session number 5 or 6. 5. Wow, it's like been rolling deep for a minute, y'all. That's what it really seems like. Okay. But we are here this morning, and I'm so excited to be able to connect with you all again on this morning. I'm so sorry. Ashley, we good? Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so just a couple of housekeeping things for our online audience and for the audience that is here with us. We have one more session in this module, okay? We have one more session in this module, and then what we'll do is we'll take a month off, and then we will repackage it, and there will be another module that will start probably in the end of September, okay? So we're going to finish up vision. This module has been about vision. Has this been good for us? Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so what we want to do is we're going to take a break at the end of our next session, which will be the fourth Saturday in August. That will be our last session for module number 1. And then what we'll do is we will take a break. We'll come back in the end of September or probably October. And from there, we're going to go into another module that I'm excited about going into. And I ain't going to tell you what it is yet. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. What we'll do is we'll announce that. And we'll, publicize it, market it, all those different types of things, just in case someone wants to jump in on that module, okay? All right, so that was housekeeping number 1. Housekeeping number 2, please make sure that everyone got the email about signing up for the one-on-one for their vision statement, right? Please make sure that you get your time slot and that you select that time slot. Those were connected to, I think, our second assignment, first or second assignment, where we had to pretty much write down our vision and talk about, who we would change, the vision, and what type of changes that vision would bring about in our community, and so forth and so on. Okay, so I want you to. I've read over everyone's vision, and I'm excited to be able to sit down and talk with you all about it, and make sure that I put some fire up under you. So that just won't be another assignment that you do, but that's something that you actually carry out and you put into place, okay? All right, so make sure we do that, because the quicker you can do that, the quicker we can have your date locked in, and we will be able to make sure that we have that time for us to sit down and talk. There are two ways that we can do this. We can do it in person, or we can do it virtual, whichever one is more comfortable for you. Okay, and when you sign up, you select your option, and we'll be able to have that conversation. All right. So we're going to go into our 5th topic for this module. We're still talking about vision. All right, but this particular topic that we're going to talk about this morning is called engage worthy. Engage worthy, and what we're going to focus upon this morning is building a team and being connected to a team, okay? So we're going to come from 2 perspectives this morning, and I think it's necessary, because one of the things that I want to make sure that I infuse you with on this morning is this. It's very simple. You cannot, or you will not, accomplish your vision alone, okay? You will not and you cannot accomplish your vision alone. There are no Lone Ranger spirits in vision. It will not happen. I don't care how big or how small it is. You will have to be connected to some individual in order for you to be able to carry out the vision that the Father has given to you, or that's something that you want to birth because you see a need, all right? You're going to have a team. Now, from the other side of the spectrum, you also must understand that you have to be connected to a team in order for you to carry out a bigger part of your vision. I'm going to get into all of this in a minute, but I'm just kind of laying the foundation for what we're going to talk about, okay? All right, so now I want us to focus upon being engage worthy, which now is talking about building a team and you also being connected to a team, okay? All right, so now here is what I want to make sure that the first thing that I want you to write down is this, because This is going to be a like mind-blowing statement. Y'all ready for this? In order for you to accomplish your vision, the first thing that you have to do is not just write the vision, it is not just process the vision, but the first thing that you have to do is you must come out of denial. You must come out of denial. And the denial is, for whatever reason, when we look at people who have done great things, especially when there are people that we cannot touch, people that are connected to us via social media, or people that are connected to us in any aspect of media connectiveness, what we do is we have this tendency to believe that for whatever reason, that they just woke up and they had a vision, they had a dream, and they just accomplished it. And they just put stuff together and it just worked. You got to come out of that denial because it's not going to work like that. It's not going to work like that, okay? There was a process, and a part of that process is you must understand that what you have been called to do, okay? You cannot do this alone. You cannot do this alone. I don't care what it is. It is impossible for you to do it alone. So you've got to come out of denial. Okay. I know that you are very secretive with your vision. I know that you are very protective of it. I know you done put the scripture where the angel came to Mary and told her that she was going to give birth to Christ, and you pondering these things in your heart. And I know that you done saw all the memes about not releasing your vision. I know all of that. I know. But guess what? That's a part of the process. But at the same time, you have to come out of denial, because you thinking that you're going to accomplish this vision on your own is a setup. It's a setup. It's a setup. I don't care what it is. It's a setup, okay? And I want you to understand that the first thing that you and I must learn how to do if we're going to accomplish any vision is come out of denial, okay? Now, I want you to write the word down alone, and I want you to write it down in parentheses, not parentheses, quotation marks, okay? I want you to write the word down alone and put it in quotation marks, because that's a two-part approach that we're about to take, okay? So I want you to understand this. What you have been called to do is your part, right? And then on the other end of the spectrum, I want you to understand, too, that what you have been called to do is a piece of a bigger picture, right? It's a piece of a bigger picture. And so the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to just literally deliver yourself from believing that you're going to be the first person to do what you're thinking about doing. Okay, deliverance is available to you right now, because it's not going to happen. You are not the first person to do it. You're not going to be the first person to do it. You may be the first person that you know that's doing it, okay? But you're not the first person that's going to be doing it. And you must come out of that. I'm really kind of just trying to bring the shells down off of you now and just say, come out of the night with that thought process, all right? So now, with that being said, under that word alone, I want you to write this down. I just spoke about it, but I'm about to go into detail. What you've been called to do needs a team. That's the first thing that I want you to write down. What you have been called to do needs a team, all right? So I know some of you may be thinking, well, all I want to do is start a candy store. Guess what? You need a team. I don't care what it is. You need a team, because within yourself, you do not have all resources. Within yourself, you do not have all resources, okay? You do not have all resources. You need other people and their expertise to be able to go along with you as you build whatever it is that the Father is calling for you to do, all right? Even something as simple, this is key, even something as simple as writing a book. If your vision is to write a book, guess what? You need a team, because you need a publicist, true or false? You need an artist, true or false? You need all of those things, okay? And you need a group of people that are going to come along with you. You need an editor. You need in some instances, you may need a ghostwriter to assist you in certain parts of your book, all right? You need a proofreader, all right? You need someone to comb through your book with a very critical eye to ensure that what you're saying is making sense to the general public and not just you and not just people who think like you. All right. So you need all of those things. Okay. So I don't care what it is. You need to be connected to a team. You need to gather a team to yourself. Am I making sense so far? Okay. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, what you also must understand is this. Not only do you need a team, but you need to be a part of a team. Okay? So not only do you need your team, but you need to be a part of a team. I'm going to give you the value of experience with this, okay? Because one of the things that I think sometimes happens is when we start working our vision, we graduate to a point where we feel like, okay, it's about what I'm producing. I feel that. I'm with you. Produce, give birth, birth it, push it out, make it happen. But on the other end of the spectrum, one of the ways that you understand the power of giving birth to something is that you play a part in someone else giving birth to something. Does that make sense? And I'm talking about like play a part. And I'm not talking about just ride the wave, but actually play a part in what it is that they are doing. Okay? So if you want to, I'm just throwing something out here. If you want to, I don't know, open up a movie theater and you got your team on your side and you're focusing upon building and processing, doing the vetting, doing the processing, all that type of stuff, you need to be a part of a team that's building something else too. Because here's the thing that I've learned. You will never be in a position where you're not helping someone else build, even when you're building yourself. You'll never get to the place where you're just building yourself and you're not assisting someone else in building, because the thing that you must understand, whatever it is that you build, it is directly connected to a bigger piece of something else. Okay? Your vision does not sit at the pinnacle of the mountain alone by itself. Your vision is directly connected to something that is bigger than you, bigger than even probably what you can comprehend. So there is a dualistic approach that you must have where you are gathering your team and you're building your vision and you're changing the world that you've been assigned to change. But then at the same time, you are connected to someone else and you're sowing into what they're building. You're processing into what they're building to assist, because your building is going to play a part into whatever it is that's a bigger piece that's connected to what you're building. Does that make sense? Okay? So I want to make sure that we understand that, because for whatever reason, and I want you to literally, people, listen to me, because there is no vision that is too small to believe that you don't need a team. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. I don't care if your team is you and your daughter. That's a team. You need a team of people to help you do what you cannot do on your own. All right? I know Google is out there, and I know YouTube is out there, and you can probably build a whole car watching YouTube. But there's going to be something that you miss, something that you're going to miss, okay? You're going to miss it, and you need a team to help you look at what I call every human has a blind spot. Every human has a blind spot, and there are things that you don't see. There are things that you cannot speak to as well as someone else can, and so you need that team of people to help you, okay? Is this making sense to y'all? Am I taking you all through a culture shock because a pastor is telling you to get your own team? Because most of the time that don't happen. Most of the time the pastor's telling you to be a part of his team. But I'm trying to help you to understand too that as you're building what you're building, you need a team of people. And I want to give you principles to make sure that you are engage worthy. All right? You need to be engage worthy. So write that down. That's the statement. That's your affirmation for today. I need to be engage worthy. In other words, you need to be worthy of someone else's time, energy, and resources. You need to be worthy of that. Okay? You need to be worthy of that. I'm going to show you how we can be worthy of that. Okay? Now, when you write that down, I want you to think about your attributes, okay? And I want you to recognize whether or not you are a people person, whether or not you are a magnet, or whether or not you are a reflector. in the sense of people gravitating towards you or people running away from you. What is your life looking like right now? And please do not use that people don't like you for the sake of the gospel. We ain't talking about that right now. We ain't talking about that, okay? We're talking about what you build. We're talking about people. What are your people skills like? There are many people in the body of Christ who use the gospel and the fact that Christ said that many in the earth were going to hate us as an excuse for us to not develop people skills. And that's not an excuse for you to not develop people skills. Even though you're going to be hated for the gospel's sake, everybody in the earth ain't going to hate you. Everybody ain't going to hate you. You need people skills so that you can be to someone a magnet, okay? Because here's the thing. When you bring your team together, I want you to feel me on this one. You are responsible for giving someone else purpose. You are responsible for giving someone else purpose, which means people are dependent upon you being engaged worthy in order for them to feel a sense of development, a sense of productivity in their life. Because you're going to meet people in a season of their life where they have certain skill sets, but they need their skill sets to be attached to something where they feel like they can be a developer and they can give birth to something or that they can assist. Here's the bombshell that I want to release unto you. I know that in this modern era of entrepreneurship and book movements and all this other stuff, that everyone feels like everyone's supposed to be in the front. There are certain people who are born to be number two. They are born to be number two, and they are in an active search, looking for something to connect to give their life to. Okay? There are just some people who don't want to be number one, and they're cool with that. They're cool with that. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you are engaged worthy so that those number twos can become attracted to you. You need number twos, okay? If you want to create you a podcast, you need more than you. You need people who are dedicated in their craft to say, I'm willing to connect to what you're doing because what you're doing brings me value. Okay? Is this helping you so far? Am I like dropping something on you that you probably never thought about before? Like you never thought that you needed a team? Y'all lying to me. You had your vision, you were going to make it run. You and your boo. We're going to run it. We're going to run it. And you ain't never thought, I needed this, I needed that. No, you need a team of people, okay? All right, so now, you need to be engaged worthy. So you must be worthy enough for people to connect with you. And at the same time, we must be humble enough to engage with what we've been called to do to a bigger connection. Does that make sense to you? You have to be worthy enough. You have to be worthy enough. So let me just keep it simple, surface level things, so that I can help you to understand kind of how this thing works. All right? Yeah, let's do this one. All right, so my pastor, Pastor Edge, all right, one of his callings, one of his assignments in the earth is to be a spiritual father, a spiritual bishop over different churches, right? So just because I'm building freedom does not mean that I don't play a bigger picture in what he's called to build. Does that make sense? I'm playing a part in what he's called to build. So no matter how big freedom gets, it's still a piece in what someone else is called to build. Does that make sense to you? So when you're building your business, when you're building your brand, when you're building your company, whatever it is that you're building is going to play a piece into someone else and what they're building. Okay? And you're going to have to recognize that you serve on both sides of the fence. I'm building and I'm serving all at the same time. I'm building and I'm serving all at the same time. I'm building and I'm serving. So I'm leading one team, but I'm serving on another team. Okay? I'm leading one organization, but I'm serving on another organization. That's the duality that you have to look at it in. Okay? And this is why leadership is not birthed the way it needs to be birthed in the church, because we feel like the only person that's supposed to have a team is the pastor. And we don't have the freedom or the liberty to recognize that we've been called to build something that may not connect with our local church in and of itself, where it's a part of that vision, but it is a part of the grace that may be upon that leader's life. And you building it is going to tie into not necessarily the name of the church, but it's going to tie into the overall out pushing of what the church is trying to accomplish. Does that make sense? So as you're receiving knowledge, as you're receiving teaching, as you're receiving insight, as you're receiving direction, even though your company may be called SNS whatever, that still is a part of a larger picture in what it is that God is pushing through a leader that you're connected to. Following me so far? Awesome. Number 2 thing that I want you to write down, I must be compelling. I must be compelling. Okay? That's a big word, y'all. It's a big word. In other words, people must be interested in you. You got to have something that people are interested in. Okay? And can I help you understand something? It used to be 20 years ago that charisma was enough. Into 2021, charisma is only a part. Charisma is only a part of the process. But you need to ensure that there is something that people are attracted to about you, whether it's your diligency, whether it's your heart for people, whether it's your passion, whether it's your knowledge. You know, what is it that people are drawn to you with that are willing to connect with what you're trying to build? You need to be compelling. Okay? You need to be compelling. You cannot be a leader and be boring. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay? You cannot be a leader and be boring. There has to be something about you. There has to be something that I admire. There has to be something that garners my attention about who you are as a leader. Okay? I'm not saying that you have to be charismatic as another person, but there has to be something genuine flowing out of you that makes people want to connect with you. All right? Your compelling nature is a magnet to the number 2s that you're around. Okay? And those number 2s will be unlocked once you get to the point where you walk in a compelling nature. All right? Now, the next thing I want to write down is this. How do I want to say that without hurting your feelings? I can't. It's too early in the morning to hurt people's feelings. I'm just going to say it like this. You want to make sure that people are, for lack of a better term, people need to be proud of connecting to your brand. There you go. I was trying to say it nice. So thank you for helping me, because early in the morning my brain clouded. I'm drink some more Gatorade. Listen, you need to be in a position where your name is worthy enough for people to connect to. Does that make sense? You need to be. Now, in this era of social media, your failures will be put on blast. That's just part of life. Okay? But at the same time, we do understand in this modern day grace, whatever movement that we're in, that we do have failures, right? We do have failures. I'm not telling you to be perfect, but I am telling you to walk in a level by which when people think about you, they're not ashamed to be connected to you. They're excited to be connected to you. All right? Now, let's go a little bit deeper into this engage, worth mindset. Y'all ready for the dive a little bit deeper? All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into this engage, worthy mindset. So here's the thought process. Most of the time when we build, the first thing that we look for is people, right? We build and we need certain people. So if I'm trying to build an organization, I start thinking about the people that I want to be connected to in this organization. I need this person because this person can do this. I need this person because I love this person. I need this person because I want this person to win. And I need this person because if I eat, everybody going to eat. That's kind of sometimes the mindset that we have when we're building. We want everybody who we know to come up, right? We want everybody to know that we need to come up. But here's the thing that I want you to write down. This is the number one killer of any business. You don't think of people first. You think of competency. Okay? You don't think of people first. You think of competency. In other words, what you're building requires a certain competency level. And you must decide what are the competencies that you need before you decide the people that you need. All right? So, competency, let's define that. So maybe this can bring some illumination to your thought process. Competency is the ability to do something successfully or efficiently. That's being competent. So when a person says that you're competent, that means that you have the ability to do something successfully. If a person says that you're incompetent, that does not mean that you're slow. That just means in that lane, you don't have the skill set to do what they're asking you to do efficiently. All right? So I would be incompetent in technology at this level. I can't do it. I ain't gonna put no graphics together. I'm not gonna run no cameras. The whole production gonna be trash. Literally. I'm just gonna pull my cell phone out and say, praise the Lord, and we done. Because it don't take a high level of competency to press go live. Okay? But there are certain competencies that you need. And as you build, and I want to make sure that you think about this, all right? You need to think about what skill sets you need around you rather than what people you need around you. Okay? What skill set do you need to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish? Because here's the thing that you must understand. The skill set exists, okay? The skill set exists. But if you choose a person before a skill set, then what you'll do is you'll become imprisoned by love rather than productivity. That's what you're going to become. You're going to become imprisoned by your love for an individual rather than the productivity of an individual. Okay? So you need a competency. This really could, if you want to be perfectly honest with you, this could connect to anything that you build in life, a family. Okay? You need to, when you're choosing your mate, I know that you're cute, but what skills do you possess? You sexy now. But what skills do you possess? What are your skill sets? Because if you're not great at communication and I'm a communicator, guess what we finna do? We finna clash. Because you don't want to talk and I want to talk. Okay? So I need to know your skill set. I need to know what you possess. So now as I'm going into business, what I want to do is I want to look for the competency. I want to look for the skill that I need. I want to look for the abilities. You know, if I'm trying to run a high-tech company, I'm not going to just hire people who are tech savvy. I need to hire a mouthpiece as well. I need to hire a person that's good in communication, right? Because I need someone to do what? Sell the product. All right? I need someone to be able to motivate the team, garner the team, make sure that we're focused together, make sure that we inspire, make sure that we're pushing toward the goal, make sure that we're connected towards the end result. You need to ensure that when you're building, write down what you need before you start telling yourself who you need. What you need is more important than who you need. What you need is more important than who you need, okay? And I'm trying to make sure that you understand this because especially where we live, there's this mindset where when you build your business, then everybody who connected to you want to be connected. They ain't want to be connected before your business became reality. But now that they know you're finna build something, they want to be connected. Man, you need to put me on, cuz. Put you on what? Put you on what? I'm serious, but that's the imprisonment that we face sometimes. And we feel obligated to help people that we feel like want a chance to do something. And that sometimes can be a hindrance because giving chances can be the death of your business. Okay? You got to be highly qualified. You got to be qualified to do what I'm needing to be done. And there's no embarrassment towards it. It's just that you don't possess the skill set to do this. And then here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is going to be the big P now. This is why you can't be married to people when you're building organization. You got to be married to the vision. Because here's the thing that's going to happen. You may reach a certain level. that may be above their competency. And you got to make a shift. Okay? You got to make a shift. You got to say that we're growing to the point where what we're doing now does not fit your skill set. And you need to always encourage the people that you're teaming with to ensure that they're always doing what? Growing. Because you don't want to leave them behind. You don't want to leave them behind. But it may come a point when if a person is just used to handling 5 figures and you grow to 7 figures, are you going to trust that person to handle your books who just used to dealing with 5 figures? Absolutely not. Your books are going to be a wreck. So the competencies that you need, okay? You're going to look at that. So, for example, one of the powerful examples, this social studies coming out, when the Panama Canal was built. Y'all know the Panama Canal, right? Y'all know about the Panama Canal. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The Panama Canal was built, and there were 2 attempts to build the Panama Canal. Okay, Ferdinand the Great, which was a friend, was trying to build one, and then Roosevelt decided to build, right? Because Ferdinand the Great did not succeed. One of the reasons as to why he did not succeed, when you read the history of all the things he did, was he did not take the time to do exactly what I'm telling you to do now. Figure out what he needed versus who he needed. He pulled in people without pulling in skill sets, and they failed because they got down there and they did not have a doctor. Why did they need a doctor? Because they were coming from another region which would expose them to a different climate, so their health was compromised because they were not used to building in this climate. So he just gathered people, and he didn't have a doctor on his team nowhere. And they died. A lot of them died. Do you see what I'm talking about? You got to have people that have certain skill sets. So when Roosevelt built, he had a doctor. He had a team of nurses. He had financial experts. He had the best engineers that America could afford because he was focused upon the skill set rather than the people. Okay? So you need skill sets. You have to think in terms of skill sets. So if you're building this, what type of person do I need here? What type of skill set do I need here? What is the skill set that I need to do this? Think about everything that your company needs. You pray for the skill set to come. And the skill set comes in the package of a person. Does that make sense? You pray for the skill set, not the person. God send people. No, you need to be specific. God send financial experts. God send engineers. God send technical audio engineers. Whatever you want, whatever you need, send that skill set. Pray for the skill set, and the person will come. If you pray for a person will come, and they may not possess the skill set. And then you're frustrated. And now your relationship with them is compromised because they can't do what you want them to do, but you set them up because you should have knew that they couldn't do what you want them to do. Is this helping you? Okay. All right. So now here's something that I want. This is a quote that I found out. I want you to write this quote down. Desire alone does not fulfill a vision. Desire alone does not fulfill a vision. Okay? So there can be a desire to fulfill a vision, a desire to build, a desire to accomplish, a desire to erect, and nothing will happen because the desire alone does not build the vision. What builds the vision is competencies, okay? Competencies that give ability to vision, okay? What makes vision come to pass are competencies that give ability to vision. Competencies is what gives your vision legs because it can move it, it can process it, it can push it, okay? All right. So now, then on the other end of the spectrum, remember I told you there are 2 ends to this. You are building, and then you're also being a part of something that's being built. You need to figure out right now, what competencies do you possess? Passion alone will not make you build something. What do you possess? What are your high-level skill sets that you produce, or that you possess rather, that will allow you to be able to be successful in building whatever it is that you're connected to building. Okay? What skill sets do you possess? That's an honest assessment of where you are in your life right now. And you need to be realistic with that. Okay? I possess this skill set. I possess this skill set. So you need to do that. You need to be aware of your areas of strengths. Okay? Because that's when you go to an organization. One of the things that I've learned in when I go to these different schools and I have to help these schools build teams to deal with social and emotional learning, one of the things that I've learned is very frustrating to building these teams is people who have a desire to just see change. That ain't enough. I just want to see the children better. Okay. Okay. So what specifically can you do to help a child who is irate and ready to cuss everybody out? What skill set do you possess? Passion to make the children change is not enough. Because that passion will still get you cussed out. I've seen it, y'all. I'm telling you. I've seen it. They are excited, and I just want to change the children, and I just want to change the children. And you get in there, and the children get lit, and you don't have no skill set to match your passion. So you have to think about it from the standpoint of what skill set do you possess? How am I a problem solver in this organization? Does that make sense? What are my areas that I can be effective in? Okay? Now, here is something that we want to avoid. Many people will have a desire to work on your vision with you as you build. They want to grow, they want to connect with you. But not knowing what is needed produces empty energy, which means we're producing, but everything that we're producing is empty because it's not causing the vision to speak and live and move. We're just doing things, okay? We're just putting things together. We're not actually motivating. And it's about we're motivating, but we're motivating to an empty or to a fake end. The end that we're motivating people to does not exist. It doesn't exist. It's a fantasy end because it's not actually changing anything or helping anybody. Okay? So you need to be able to recognize that people who have a desire to work is not enough. It's not enough. Okay? It's not enough to just have a desire. I need to know what your skill sets are. You need to know what people who are connected to you, what are their skill sets. All right? Okay. All right. Y'all good? Okay. I feel like we need a Q&A after this one because I feel some thoughts percolating all up in the room. I feel them. So let's go a little bit deeper. I'm almost through. I'm going to save some time for Q&A. All right. So now, in fulfilling the vision, choosing the right competency is more important than choosing the right people. As a leader, when working your vision, what competencies do you need? All right? So that's the question. I'm going to leave you with that. What competencies do you need? All right? What competencies do you need? Make sure that you have that, because when I sit down and talk with you about your vision, I should be able to hear you talk about what specific skill sets you need to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Okay? Then, as a leader, connecting to a bigger vision, what competencies do you offer? Okay? What do you offer? What do you offer? You have to look at those things, all right? All right. So then the last part, which is about 5 minutes, and then we're going to have Q&A. We're going to look at this, okay? Write this down. Engage worthy leaders have to know how to build unity. Have to know how to build unity. And I'm going to try and be as unchurchy as possible, because that word unity in the church gets thrown out a lot, and it does not accomplish anything. Because we think unity is everybody doing the exact same thing. And really, unity cannot exist outside of diversity. If diversity is not present, then you remove yourself from unity. Unity only exists when there are differences that are able to come together. If you don't have differences that are able to come together, then unity does not have a chance to exist. Okay? Now, here is my definition of unity for the sake of the content that we're talking about now. Unity is the collection of competencies and energy and directing it all to work together. So unity within the context of what we're talking about now is the collection of competencies and the collection of energy and being able to direct all of that to work together. Being able to bring different skill sets and figuring out how to make it all work together. Not everyone doing the same thing, but everybody is doing the same thing. Okay? Everybody's not doing the same thing, but everybody is doing the exact same thing. In the sense of everyone is not doing the same work, but everyone is doing the same thing in relation to what the vision is. Okay? So now, unified people with unified energy can build in, watch this, any environment. Because guess what happens? They are the creators of the environment. Unified people with unified energy can build in any environment because they are the creators of the environment. They don't succumb to the environment, they build it. Okay? So when you start talking about Apple and Steve Jobs and his team, when they first started building Apple, they built that in an environment by which what they were building, there was not a market for. There was no market for what they were building. But they created an environment for that. And when they created an environment for that, through the unification of their energy and the unification of their competencies, what they did was they created a whole nother world that previously to their building did not exist. Notice, I love to use these words. They're not interchangeable. Earth and world are not interchangeable. They're not. There's one earth. There's one earth. Okay? There's one earth. There's one earth. Scripturally speaking, I believe that we're on the second earth, but that's a whole other conversation for that day. That's 2 Peter chapter number 3. I ain't talking about that right now, though. Okay? But within the context of what we're talking about, there are many worlds, and worlds can be built any time a people come together and make something that does not exist. That's a world. A world is a culture. A world is a thought pattern. Okay? A world is a unification of people that are now moving in a different direction that previously did not exist. Right? So the thing that you must understand as a leader is that either you are building a world that does not exist, or you are tapping into a world to make a world that already exists that much bigger. Right? That's what you're doing. So when you start looking at how your vision is going to affect the city of Albany or the city of Americus or wherever you are, what you have to define out is, what am I doing? Am I building a world that does not exist, or am I tapping into a world that already exists and I'm just making it larger? And in that framework, when you understand what you're trying to accomplish, you then begin to pull different competencies together and you unify those skill sets to ensure that what you produce creates a world by which other people can leave their present world and come to yours. Is it too heavy for y'all? I feel like I'm in like college. I like it though. Because I want you to understand the power of, as you are building something. So like when you build, so like for example, gosh, I don't know what, this is easy top of my head. So what Roy and his family are building is a world. It's not just a business. It's a world, because within that business is a culture that they're trying to build. Does that make sense? And within that culture, people's lives should be changed, which is then going to gravitate or going to cause them to leave the world of pain and anguish to a world of comfort and strength. So they're leaving one world and going to another. And when people see how other people are transitioning from that world, now their business becomes a culture that when it becomes a world, because people want to be attached to it. Because the only, let me say this, the people that are benefactors of his business are not just the patients. It's everyone who he unifies with and hires. And then the residue that comes from them being a part of his organization bleeds off into their families and bleeds off into the community and bleeds off into their neighborhoods. And now you have a world created simply because of the worldview that he's created in one organization. It's really just that simple, but it takes work. So you're building a world. You're building a world, and you have to figure out what the competencies are that you need to make sure that this world exists effectively, and then figure out how to unify this to make it work for one common goal, okay? And the result should be a changed world or a creation of a world that does not exist in the area that it's going to exist in, okay? All right. Last two, we're finna get out of here. We're finna open up Q&A and discussion. All right, so your competencies have assignments. They're problem solvers, and they are momentum builders when they are used correctly. That's what they're there for. Your skill sets have assignments, and they are to be problem solvers and momentum builders. That's what they exist for. That's what they exist for. Here is where the pressure comes in, though. The pressure comes in when I have a competency that is not highly recognized, and I don't feel that my competency is beneficial to what we're building. And I become covetous over other people's competencies. And now I begin to step out of my lane to do stuff that I know I'm really not skilled to do, but I want to do. And now the organization is held back. Is this making sense? And so what you have to recognize is, it's an old saying, but it's so powerful. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Your lane is needed. Is needed. Does that make sense? Your lane is needed. And you must fulfill your lane with the competency that you have. Because if you don't fill your lane, that means that there's something being what? Undone. It's being undone. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have to unify people to help them to understand that what their lane is so significant because it's solving a problem. Okay? All right. So your assignment, which is very, very simple, and I should be able to hear it when we talk, is going to be to figure out what are your competencies. That's it. What competencies do you offer? And then on the other end, what competency do you need to help you build your organization? What do you need? Okay? What do you need? What competencies do you need? Now, you can get grown with this thing and really get so big that you don't even care what competencies people have or don't have. Your culture is so powerful that you give them the competency, even when they don't have it. Okay? You give them the competency. But I'm telling you, though, people who don't have the competency will tear a model down. It will tear a model down. So imagine going to, keep it simple. Imagine going to Chick-fil-A. They have a culture, but what if a person does not have the competency of being a people person? Welcome to Chick-fil-A, how may I help you? Destroys the whole culture. It destroys the whole culture of what they're building. You're going to be like, what? Am I at McDonald's? What is here? What is here? And it's going to be a turnoff. It's going to be a turnoff because there is an expectation, right? There's an expectation. So they just can't pull people in. You need a job, you need a job, you need a job, come on through. No, there has to be a certain competency that they possess. And one of the main competencies they have to be possessed, they have to be highly energetic. Highly energetic. You know, you don't see people at Chick-fil-A, man, I'm going to go to the high, man. Sick of this, man. I don't work 2 shifts. You don't see that kind of spirit. You don't see that kind of spirit at Chick-fil-A because there are certain competencies they're looking for. They're not looking for people who need jobs. They're looking for people who possess a certain competency. And when they have that competency, they can plug them in to fit the culture that they're building. Okay? All right. Y'all good? Awesome. Do we need to have a come to Jesus meeting? All right, but we will open it up for discussion and Q&A for about 10 minutes, and then we will be done for this morning. So any question, first of all, before we open up the discussion, any question or any concern in relation to anything that we talked about this morning? We'll do with the questions first, then we'll get to the comments. You got one? Yes.
Never thought about specifically competencies when looking to build a brand. You said something that was so key. You just want people, and I always thought about just giving them what you're looking for once you get the people and assigning them.
Right.
As if they're just going to do what you assign
Right.
automatically.
Right. There's a difference between volunteers, though, because you may have people that just want to volunteer to help you build. That's fine. When you start talking about people that make this cog work, they have to possess a certain competency. Because what's going to happen is, just say, for example, if you have a person who, I don't know, you need a financial expert. You running your books, you at 7, 8 figures, right? And you need someone who has a financial acumen that is out of this world, right? But the only thing they've had experiences in is balancing their own checkbook.
Right.
Not going to work because now you're tapping into a different world that they don't possess a skill set for. Number one, they're going to become overwhelmed. That's number one. But then their overwhelmed spirit, guess what they're going to do? They're going to be prideful because they don't want to let who? You down. Because you all have a relationship and you hired them based upon a relationship and not competency.
Right.
Okay? So, and really as it relates to how you build your business, your brand, even when it comes to whatever brand you want to build, when you want people to know Bradshaw, what do you want them to think? You need people that are going to not only help you build that, but people that are going to help you resemble that, right? So you don't just need someone because JoJo need a job. Well, cool, I can help you out and, do some errand. No, I don't need that because I want when people, one of the things that I always tell the admin team and people that work very close with me in this church is that you control the narrative. We're never going to let anyone come in this church and create a narrative. We're going to control it. We're going to make them say what we want them to say about freedom. That's what we're going to do. That's how hard we're going to work on our culture and our brand and what we build. That they're going to say what we want them to say. They're going to become walking billboards for what we build. And so as it relates to your brand, that's the same mindset that you have to walk in.
Got it.
Okay. What's up, Carla?
Good morning. I appreciate you talking about the person in the background, the number 2 person, because I've always felt like, well, if I don't have a vision, like I hear other people explain their vision, I felt like something was wrong with me. Okay, God, why are you not giving me, what you're giving them? So I appreciate that because I know I can help people. I know I do have the gift to help.
Absolutely.
And so thank you for explaining that and, breaking that down to us. That everybody's not going to be the number 1 person. It's going to be the number 2 people, some people in the background.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. For whatever reason, vision has to be worked, and especially in the beginning stages while you're developing your team, vision has to be worked. But most visionaries, and correct me if I'm wrong if anybody has experience in this, most visionaries are really not workers. They see through the progression. They can see it and they can tell when it's off. But they're not workers. The gift to work it is not upon them. So that's why even in scripture you have the gifts of helps. You have the gift of administrations because building things requires more than vision. And one of the things that I've learned is that in my experience, visionaries are normally not the ones to work it. They're the ones to oversee it. And the church has done a terrible job of empowering number twos. We've made number twos feel like there's no place for them, when in actuality, there is a huge place for number twos. And if the number two tries to be the number one, then the number two is going to become out of his grace set. And if the number one then begins to submit to room for him or her to function in the capacity of a number two, then what's going to happen is that number one is going to become frustrated. And now you got an imbalance in your company or your organization or whatever that you're building. So you as a number two, if that's what God has called for you to be, embrace that reality, okay? There's something that you have been given to change the world. And so even as you're working what you're working to change the world, it still may be in a number two slot. So if you got something that you want to do, but you're not the one that you feel like God's going to use to push it out, find someone who's doing it and work it with them. That's the easiest thing to do. That's the easiest thing to do until the Father says otherwise, if he says otherwise. We good? Because here's the thing. I'll give you this example. There are seasons where number twos are developed into number ones, right? There are seasons when number twos are developed to be number ones. So I was one of the number two. It was actually two number twos in my church where I was at. Me and Roy Daddy. We were the number twos, and we worked it, 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 to the point to where there were certain things that the number one didn't even have to think about. He didn't even have to think about it. And that's how it should be. Number twos have the grace to carry what number ones cannot carry. And they all work. They all work. Okay? Yes, sir.
Amen. Two things. The culture of freedom as it spoke to me was honor.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe as I'm speaking, only what freedom gives the narrative to speak, that word for me is honor, a culture of honor. And number two, based off of, I'm in the same vein where she was with the number two, because I've always asked God, where am I in the scheme of things in my earth's mission? Because I find myself in the number two slot everywhere I've gone. And I'm asked the question, what does that mean? Because the person that I would typically sit under in that sense, they don't understand what I mean when I'm saying, what is the number two man to do? You know, I keep hearing I'm number two. I don't have a clue. Then a few years ago, I read a book, The Anointing of the Number Two Man. And it was Bishop Jakes' number two man. He had produced a book. And when I read that book, I said, this is what I've been doing. But I couldn't get the understanding to connect with the person in order to go forth as the number two. Because they always told me, you need to get out and do your own thing. Really, that's what they were saying. Because you're not going to take over here. And I start subconsciously thinking the number two man carries a takeover spirit. Because of that anointing to influence so much. It appears that you're trying to take over. But on the reality of it, you're trying to sit in the back corner and not frustrate the grace.
Absolutely.
You know, so thank you for that was confirmation to me in this number. I'm not the only one thinking like that. Because every time I endeavored to do anything, it always came to its end. But I don't share the same testimony everybody else. What they was literally telling me, you just didn't do something God told you to do. That's why you missed it. That's why you missed it. I went through the investment plans. It came to its end. I went through it. I say because I was operating out of order, that probably lent to that, but that still don't answer the fact of the number two.
And you know that's so powerful. One of the things I would say, as you are going through your list of competencies that you offer, here's the thing that you must learn that is essential. You can have the right competencies plugged into the wrong organization. Because if an organization is not built to handle what you can offer, you are going to feel frustrated. Not because you're not doing what you're supposed to do, but that organization is not built to handle what you can offer. So therefore, you unplug and then find somewhere else to plug into. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. The mic get hot. I love when the mic get hot.
Thank you. I just want to say that in my organization, I'm probably number 2 or 3 now, and I enjoy being 2 or 3 or wherever I fit. And I see my role as to protect number 1,
That's good.
to cover number 1
That's good.
from the foolishness and the drama, so that number 1 can focus on the vision.
That's good.
And I just want to thank you for just, clarifying and just talking about not only are we leading in our vision and our assignment, but we're also following. So until we master following, you're really not ready to lead. So I just want to thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely. Man, Mark, you need to come to declaring that one.
Right?
She got it. She got it. Good morning,
Yes.
everyone.
Good morning.
Pastor, beautiful session this morning. I mean, some of the same stuff that was on my heart. As a matter of fact, I put a post up on Facebook this morning that was in line with what you're teaching, not knowing that that's what you were going to teach about.
Right.
I pastored before. I've been a senior pastor before. I built a ministry literally from the ground up. And I also closed that ministry's doors because I didn't transition when I was supposed to. My competencies had maxed out of my abilities. In other words, I'll tell you from a financial standpoint, we literally went from, within a year's time, from $0 a month to over $10,000 a month in tithes and in offering. My experience was only in the 4 digits. When we exceeded the 4 digits and went into the 5, I had no clue what was going on.
Right.
None. So money that I thought that we had, we really didn't have because I had everybody and their mama on payroll. I want you to hear me. I want you to hear me in here.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, we couldn't make payroll. We couldn't pay the rent. I'm like, Lord have mercy, what we're going to do. And then next thing you know, everything just went downhill from there. What I had to realize and what God began to speak to me was, he said, Rory, you're just the gatherer.
That's good.
Your assignment is to bring the people together.
That's good.
After that, your role then shifts to overseer.
That's good.
To ensure and make sure that everybody, whether it be the prophet, pastor, teacher, evangelist, whatever, is on assignment, is on cue, and flowing in their lanes. And so the mark of a true leader, I believe, if you're going to lead, is knowing your abilities,
Yes.
knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them.
Yes.
And if I don't, and having the humility, that's why I still serve here. I could have my own church. I've been approached by churches. We want you to come past. No, God told me to be here because there was something that I had to get from freedom before I go wherever else in my next assignment. But also, following gives me a better eye of what it means to lead. I'll never not be a follower. I don't care what I do. I don't care where I go. Bishop Edge will always be my bishop. I don't care. I may grow a church to 10,000 people. Guess what? My gift is still submitted there.
Absolutely.
So having the ability to know when, okay, all right, I still need to humble myself. I still need to sit at somebody's feet. Because the reality is just like he mentioned earlier, our bishop has been where I haven't. He has seen what I have not seen. And even if I'm preparing to go into a territory that I am unfamiliar with, he can still provide insight and wisdom as to maybe how to navigate and maneuver in that. So never get to a place to where you cannot learn from someone, and never get to a place where you're no longer teachable.
That's good. That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. Anybody else? We good on the Q&A?
Well, I was going to say know if this makes me a 2 or 3 or 4, but I feel like when people come to me and they speak what their vision is, like, oh, have you thought about this? Ooh, have you thought about that? Like, I have ideas for them. I may not be on their team,
Mm-hmm.
but I have ideas that I can share.
Mm-hmm.
So that make me just be a visionary,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not, like I said, part of their team, but I'm still seeing what they're seeing, but at a different capacity.
That's good. So stop right there. Don't move yet. So now we got all these leaders in this room. So what would be her role? Let's talk. What would be her role if you brought what you did, like on the fly training right here? Because I know what she do for me, and that's why she doing it. So if she came to you based upon what you brought to her, and she said, "Think about this, think about this, think about this, think about this," like, what is that to you? What competency does she possess, and what role should she possess based upon what you're building? Let's talk about it. Okay. Okay.
Um, Sounds like she has insight, foresight,
Mm-hmm.
like she can see beyond what is being presented to her at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seemed like her competency just went miles ahead of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Where you may not have thought or even can fathom
Yeah.
being there.
Yeah. That's
You
good.
know, and her competency
Okay.
comes with a lot of, you said earlier, integrity.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like you can trust it.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Marcus.
And I was thinking just kind of along the lines of consultation and strategy and design, because sometimes you like, you're just missing those pieces of the puzzle to make the puzzle complete.
Right.
So
That's
I like
good.
that.
That's good. Well, y'all been right in front of my eye. I love this. I love it.
I was going to say, also in the lines of administration,
Mm-hmm.
because a good leader has to have, as Prophet has alluded to, the foresight to know how one decision can literally make or break an organization.
Yes. Yes.
And knowing when to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said earlier, knowing when to move somebody when they have reached their maximum competency in that particular area. It's almost apostolic if we want to give it a church sense. Again, gathering, strategizing, and foresight, looking into the future, and I would say accounting is in there too, because you got to count up the cost. Okay, if we are going to build a building, what does that entail? We need to know how much this and how much this, how much this, how much this.
Yes.
I had to build a business plan not too long ago, and I had to account for every nail.
Yeah. Yeah.
These people wanted to know how many nails I was going to buy. I was like, look now. So I didn't possess I knew I didn't possess the competency to do that. So you know what I did? I got on the phone and called some contractors.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And I
sir.
said, this facility is going to be about 4,000 square feet. How many nails will I need? And they said, well, you need this many pounds, this many nails. You're going to need this much siding. You're going to need, 1,000 feet of sheetrock, drywall, square feet, all this stuff. And I was like, holy smokes. And then when I took it back to the people, they said, okay, this is what we need. So someone like that is needed to count up the cost.
Absolutely.
And to strategize on how this thing has to be put together.
That's good. That is good. That's good. And you know what? We just busted up a myth, because most people think in any organization, whether it's church or a business, that you only supposed to have one person who can see. Absolutely not so. You have there are, I'll say it in this term, there may be one visionary, but there are many seers in that organization, and you have to employ those people. I believe every person, let's just stop being business owners for a minute. Let's just be practical. If you ain't got no seer in your personal life, you in trouble. You are in trouble. You need people who can see things, because like I said, every person has blind spots. You cannot see everything. And you need people who can do what? See. You need people who can see. And you got to have people around you who can see, who can literally see. All right? I wish, he probably ain't going to do it. I wish Kirby would give you all the dream he had about me and him the other day. It, to me, is, I don't even think about it. And when people around you who can see, guess what you don't do? If God sends people to your life, to your business, to your organization, to your church, who can see, guess what you don't do? Question what they saw. If you put them in the role, if you give them that, and because it's almost like, why would I put you in the role of a seer and then I got to debate with you what you saw? To then say, let me pray about what you saw. Right. And then there was for him, we said, well, I'm just invalid. I'm not valuable in this situation. And then what begins to happen is the gift begins to slowly diminish towards me because I'm not receptive of it. I'm not receptive of it. You need people around you who can see. You need people around you who can see because you can't see everything. In the business, in the organization, you need people. Now, notice now, there's a difference between spies and seers. I'm talking about no spies now. There are many organizations who got a whole bunch of spies. Come and tell me what they talking about. Come and tell me what you. We don't need that. Culture should take care of that. If you got to have spies, that means your culture is incorrect. You don't need spies. You need people who can see and give you vantage points about the future or about a particular situation that you don't have access to. That was good. I like that. I need to write a book about that. Yeah, I need to write a book about that. Pray for me. I get tired of typing. But listen, that's something that you have to have, okay? So I pray, even as your personal life, that God give you a seer, that God give you someone who can see, just for your personal life, that you have a seer. And then for your business, that God ensures that you have a seer, people who can look beyond what you can see. Don't mean they got to have profit in front of their name. They can just see stuff. They can anticipate. They can anticipate. That's a big word that we don't use. The only time we use anticipation is in sports or when somebody getting ready to break our heart. I knew you were going to do that. You need the gift. There was a teaching that Craig O'Shell did about being able to anticipate 5 and 6 years down the road. And it was so powerful because before I heard that teaching, I never thought about the power of anticipation. You're anticipating what the market is going to do. You're anticipating what the stock market is going to turn into. You're anticipating what the consumer is going to want. Based upon what's taking place in 2021, you know in 2026 what the consumer thought process should be. Because you do know all this stuff is playing, right? You do know that nothing is by accident. Nothing is just casual. You have to begin to pay attention to the patterns when you do business. Will what you build now survive 5 years from now? Can it survive? Can what you build now, will your book still be relevant 5 years from now? That's how you have to build stuff because what you build should be legacy. It should continue to turn over itself. It should never just last within one generation and then it just poof is gone. It should always continue to evolve and turn over. Okay? That's the goal. That's the goal of what you're building. Okay? All right. Anybody else? Okay.
I was just going to share the dream.
Okay. Yes.
Because I feel like it'll help in relation to what we're talking about with seers. So the dream that I had was a couple mornings ago, or whenever we talked a few days ago. I was basically in this building. We'll keep it short. We was basically in this building, and there was a woman who was running the entire thing in this building. This building was almost like what we were using it for, or Pastor was using it for, was like a studio / podcast type of thing. So we was doing the same stuff that we do here, which is like freedom talks and things like that. So in this building, there was this one particular lady who she always talked to him. She continued to speak to him. She never spoke to me, but over the period of time, I could recognize that it was something off about her. Now, there were other people that was employed at this particular location. And the other people, they were real people. But this woman just so happened to be fake. She was like a machine or something like that. Like you, from the outward appearance, you would think she would be a regular person just like you and I. But I could see that it was something off about her. And then what happened was I ended up identifying exactly what it was about her, that she was, not a real individual. And Pastor began to go in, and I think Rory was in this dream as well. And Rory, they went and did a conversation, and it came out, and I was like, man, something off about her. But I could never get to Pastor. Every time I would try to get to him and tell him about this person, to tell him, like, hey, man, this lady is off. And every time she dealt with him nicely. She dealt with him kindly. Everything that he wanted, she made it available, all of this stuff. But at the same time, this is not a real person. But she communicated, spoke, and everything just as she was a real individual. And I ended up calling Rory, and I was like, hey, man, it was something off about the lady. He said, yeah. He said, everything. He's like, there was nothing that they didn't have an answer to. And I said, yeah, it was kind of weird. So since I could not get to him, what I did was I called a girl in, and she was going to be my messenger. So she was going to go in the meeting and do an interview with him because he was doing podcasts and Freedom Talks and things like that. So I brought another girl in. When I brought the girl in, there was another guy that was coming that he had already scheduled, but I didn't know he scheduled the guy. So I sent the girl in to be the messenger to tell him everything that was going on about this woman. Hey, she's fake and all of this stuff. And then come to find out, they sent the girl back out because they identified that I knew something was off, but he never saw it. So altercation broke out. I ended up grabbing this lady by the mouth, and when I pulled her mouth out, you could see all the machine, all the features as she was like a robotic person. And from there, they ended up kicking me out of the building, and they didn't let the messenger that I was sending in, they didn't let her go in. They actually sent the guy in that he scheduled, which I didn't know he scheduled. And me and the girl ended up, we was talking on the way out, and as I was going out, there were 3 polices that came, and they all tried to arrest me and pull guns at me and knives and things like that. So that was the dream.
So y'all ready for me to interpret that for y'all? Cause y'all was like, wow. So quickly, number one, the first part of that vision helped me to understand that as builders, you don't see everything because you're so engaged in the building process. And sometimes you miss stuff. And one of the things that I think God does in the grand scheme of things is he keeps us in a position of humility by which we don't see everything so that we can be dependent on other people. So the rebuke that I got in that vision from when he told me was the fact that there should have been clear communication because there were people coming in to do what me and him were supposed to be doing that he didn't know were coming in. So that helps us to understand that when you have seers, you have to communicate with them. You can't leave stuff out. You have to talk to them. And had he had the insight, rather, of knowing what was on the schedule, then his approach to getting to the woman could have been totally different. Then another thing that I saw was the fact that it helped me to understand one of the roles that he plays in my life. He sees. So for me, if he's seeing all this stuff, going back to what I said, I don't have seers and you working with people who have the foresight and the insight to do whatever it is that you're doing. It's not even about sometimes warning. It's about maybe doing something that may be more productive or creating something that may bring about a better end result. You have to trust who your seers are. When they release stuff, don't debate. I got to see if that's from God. It's from God. They're talking. I promise you it's from God. Because it's hard to make stuff up like that. It's hard to be off when it comes to stuff like that. So you have to recognize that. You have to recognize that. And so that helps me to understand. I have levels of seers in this church. Kirby had a vision about Pastor Mallard where he was a seer in certain things. So he's one of my seers in the ministry. Rory is a seer in this ministry. If nothing else, but based upon experience alone, he sees stuff. And so you have to associate yourself with people who can see what you don't see, and don't be intimidated by it. True leaders humble themselves to the point that they understand without their team and without the people that God has connected them with, they can't build anything. Anything. Now, if you just wanted me to preach, I could preach by myself all day long. Give me a topic, I'll start preaching right now. But to build something, it takes more than preaching to build. So get you some seers. Get you some seers. Pray for seers in your life. And let me help you. Most of us don't want to do it because here's what we get. If I get a seer in my life, they're going to know my sins. You scared they're going to call you out. That's why you don't want no seers, because you scared they're going to call you out. Guess what? God don't need your cooperation to call you out. He don't need that. If you want to reveal something to a total stranger about you, he'll do it. He'll do it. So he don't need your cooperation to reveal anything about your personal life to anybody. So you can't be afraid of that. Get you some seers. They're protectors, okay? And they're guarders of your future and everything that you're supposed to be building. That makes sense? Y'all good? Yes, sir. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
One of the things that I forgot we're recording. I'm sorry. One of the things that really stood out was a part about him removing, in essence, a mask and revealing the machine. Okay, so when we planted Restoration Pooler, initially we had no help. I reached out to several local pastors and ministers. And, oh, yeah, bro, we got your back. What you need, we got you. Yeah, we got you. And then when the rubber met the road, they were nowhere to be found.
Absolutely.
Nowhere.
Absolutely.
Nowhere. When they started seeing growth, that's when the text messages came.
Yep.
That's when the phone, hey, bro, let me, I've been busy. Let me take you to lunch. That's when, okay, all right, I see. And what they assumed was that their unwillingness to help was going to stop something. But what God has ordained, he'll maintain.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so at that point, that's when they begin to share their wisdom. Notice I'm using the quotations. Their wisdom and their insight. You don't want to do this, and you don't want to do that, and don't do this and do that, and then you need to do this way, and this how we do it, and da-da-da-da, and it worked for us, and da-da-da, so forth and so on. But this is what you got to understand. Dr. Miles Monroe said this. He said, experience is the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
If you are not careful, you will, the way you did it can hinder how it needs to be done now. And so that machine that was revealed, that's what's about to come now in this next season of where freedom is getting ready to go.
Absolutely.
It now I don't know if you reached out to folk for help. I don't know what that is, but the voices that's what I'm hearing are coming now, and they are coming not to help.
Right.
But it's because of the assignment that's on your life, and they are coming to stifle what God is really trying to do. See, the brain goes through this thing called plasticity, right? So if it does something over and over and over again, it then builds this neuron, and the neuron grows, and now you've created a new habit. And so the enemy understands that, which is why a lot of our churches are stuck bound in tradition, because this the way grandma did it and great-grandma did it, and I can't do it this way because my granddad had donated the land, so on and so on, da-da-da-da-da. Here at Freedom, you don't have any of that to wrestle through.
Right.
And so because the enemy knows that there is not a history of tradition, so to speak, he'll send voices, he'll send people, and he'll clothe them in, I'm here to help. So I just think it's mindful And this for everybody. Be mindful of these new voices that get ready to show up and pop up and appear and say, hey, I'm here to help. And this false humility, hey, call me if you need, and then when you call them and ask them to do something, they turn it down. And then they'll call back and say, well, I thought about it, I prayed about it, I want to do it. That's manipulation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we have to open our eyes and see. Jesus instructed us to befriend the world. You want to know why? Because they are shrewd and they can see.
Yep.
You need some seers, as Pastor has said. And so I just believe that to be, Pastor Kirby, a forewarning of what is to come. So I just wanted to add that on top of what y'all have already interpreted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need some seers, people. You need some seers. Spiritual. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Send you a text message on something that I received, along with what Pastor Kirby is talking about. When he poured the mouth, that connected to what I had seen. Because I've been praying against their tongue. That when they begin to speak, it sounds like babble, and we would all know it. Because you do freedom talk. And a lot of voices are going to start trying to rise through. I ain't talking about the people. Thank God I don't know the people.
Right.
But if they are not in tune with the voice of freedom, they would be used to speak something that don't fit with where you're going. And I know God is on the move because intimate things we've been talking about in the intercessory and all of that. I would go as far as this. This is just Milton. At this season, I won't allow anybody who haven't been in to come in yet. I don't care if they friend or whatever. That's just me. Because they wasn't at the ground zero in the fight, they may not be equipped to deal with where we are now because we don't understand the fullness of what God is doing. To let us know that it is real, if you're looking on live screaming and all of that stuff, the medians have been re-injected into our media. Them folks who deal with necromancy.
Right.
So they're going to speak to grandmama and them on your behalf. So why is all this coming back, Lord? Because he have spoken something to us for us to do. So I say, Lord, cancel the voice piece of all of them who starting to try to come before this manifestation of what you've given us, because you spoke prophetic. God had increased the prophetic. So when he has increased the prophetic, the medians want to jump in there and start confusing things. I'm not against people, but I look at things from the spiritual perspective. What's trying to hinder us from growing? So those median is a sign to me that, okay, it's not going to happen. It's already being put in place to the manifestation of it. And how would they try to slick us? Because we have the same subject line don't necessarily mean we speak in the same fine print.
Absolutely.
So be aware of the fine print of it. That's why I say I know they praying wherever they praying at, but let them pray wherever they praying at for now, and let God put this thing together when it's time to be put together. Because soon as we start getting a move of God, we want everybody else to join in. God said that was the way the church used to be. Don't let the enemy already start reconnecting you to familiar. So for those who praying at their churches, let them pray. It's practical to me to not do something drastic right now. Hold in place, let God deal with the fallout. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm saying I'm always coming with this kind of thing, and it seemed to be, it messes with people. And God say, shut up. That's just the religious spirit in their ear trying to get them to come against what you're saying.
Right.
Hear what I say and say what I say, and don't hesitate.
Right.
Because it'll connect. We come
Powerful.
against the voices of all of those who speaking against the kingdom move of God.
Right, right.
Amen.
Amen.
I realized just for me in that dream is I think someone over there mentioned it is that one of my roles and assignment is to cover him.
I was gonna add something to that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were talking about the woman and her being fake, and pulling off the face, I saw her as being a blocker because she kept trying to keep you from talking to him, which was coming from a pure vessel, somebody that's going to speak truth to him. But although she was speaking to him and it was all nice and pretty, it was packaged real nice, but she was giving like false information. So I thought about the false teachers and the false prophets that
That's
are
good.
coming up.
That's good.
You know, so that's possibly what that was also, you know, in that dream.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I love that church. Goodness, I love that church. But I think this is a perfect what's the word I want to look for? A perfect demonstration of the culture that we've been building for the last 4 years. A culture where everyone has, when you raise up leaders, no one is intimidated or scared to release the clarity that's needed to be released because we are protecting what God is moving in us into. We're not protecting the church. God protects his church. He protects his church. But when you start talking about protecting his moves and what he desires to do, that responsibility is given to us. And he puts us in place to do that. And one of the things that I think sometimes leaders don't do is they don't know how to empower their people around them without them feeling inferior. Because a lot of the times that don't happen. That doesn't happen where people feel the liberty to give revelation, give insight, give direction, give understanding, because one of the things that I've learned is that I'm preparing everyone in this church to not just be a seer or a administrator here, but it's about also what you do when you step outside these doors. But the practicality of it takes place here. And so if I make room for you to do it here, then when you go out and have to speak to the superintendent, it's with ease. It's easy to do it. And so that's the culture that we're building. As you build your organization and as you build your business, those are things that you got to think about. What type of culture do you want to exist? Do you want to have a whole bunch of yes men and yes women? Do you want a whole bunch of followers? Or do you want people that can lead and pick up the platform with you to go exactly where you want to go? I love the church. I love y'all. I love y'all. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. 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 All right. So this has been a good session, y'all. It's been a good session. I think you even got more than you thought you were going to get in relation to protecting your vision, protecting your calling, making sure that you are surrounding yourself with the particular competencies that are needed, making sure also one of the competencies that you need is a seer so that you can discern the voices that may be trying to infiltrate what God is building in you. You ain't got to be spooky. You ain't got to be spooky. That spirit of spookiness is overrated. You don't trust nobody. Just get some seers. And you ain't got to be spooky. If they ain't right, I'm pretty sure if you got some seers, they'll discern them. I don't know about that one right there. And you just be done with it. You just be done with it. You just be done with it. And that's one of the things that we have to learn how to do as builders, okay? All right, y'all good? So your assignment should be to competencies, figure out which ones you have, and then based upon the organization that you're trying to build, figure out which ones that you need. We have our last session for vision in August, last Saturday in August, and then we'll take a break for September, and then we'll start back up in October. So what I want to do is I want to expand this just a little bit more because I'm interested in pulling other people in to be able to build this, because I'm interested in transforming this whole region into a whole bunch of leaders. That's my goal. That's my goal, to raise as many leaders as possible in this region. And so one of the things, if you feel like this class is worthy of you putting your stamp on it, put your stamp on it, and invite other people. If it's just one person and you nag that person, like, look, I promise you your leadership life is going to be changed if you get into this class. Not because we need ego strokes. We need qualified people to change the world. This region is suffering not because of resources, but because of mindset. And we want to change the mindset. We want to change the mindset. So that's what we're after. Okay? So, Father, we are just grateful this morning for everything that you have taught us, everything that you've revealed, everything that you've uncovered. And Father, we thank you that you are preparing us to be high-performing leaders. So we ask of you, Father, that as we even think about the competencies that we need, I pray that you would give us the vision and insight to recognize who do we need to attach ourselves to. What type of skill sets do we need around us to fulfill the assignment that you've given to us? Even as we think about what skill sets we possess, reveal those things to us. Help us to understand how can we help another person build what they are building, because we want the transformation of lives. We want the transformation of this region to be a reality. We don't want it to exist in our hearts or our heads. We want it to be tangible. So we thank you, Father, for transforming us into the leaders that you have called for us to be. We thank you and we bless you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Get y'all some snacks before y'all go home.